Off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm here to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I've been debating on whether I was going to do this video just because there were a lot of questions in this tag that I could not answer, but there were some that I really wanted to answer too. So, you know, I kind of kept writing my answers down, then getting rid of the whole tag, but then I kept coming back to it. So we're just going to do this, and yeah. I don't know why I take this so seriously. This is supposed to be fun. And it is fun if I just stop making it like my mission in life to figure out how to answer every question when I just don't have answers. So let's just do this. So, best book you've read so far in 2024. I'm going to say probably what every Christian fiction booktuber has said. Probably. I mean, I've only watched a few of these tags, honestly. But For a Lifetime by Gabrielle Meyer is on my list for sure. Everybody's read it, probably. Book of Love for Amanda, Paperbacks and Ponytails. I think Anne from, I don't know. Everybody knows this book, right? Or at least has seen it around. It's the third one in the series, so I'm not going to talk about it at all. But it was great. And weirdly enough, the other two books that I have to talk about here are also time travel. We're talking about a theme here. This is hilarious. The next one is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I heard about this one first from Gloria Z. Thompson. And she didn't like it very much, but it sounded intriguing. And then Bookish Blonde read it too. Jen, I think her name is. I'm still trying to, anyway, remember names. So I'm going to read the description for this one. A woman risks everything to end her family's centuries-old curse, solve her mother's disappearance, and find love in this mesmerizing novel. Yeah, okay. I went. In the small mountain town of Jasper, North Carolina, June Farrow is waiting for fate to find her. The Farrow women are known for their thriving flower farm and the mysterious curse that has plagued their family line. The whole town remembers the madness that led to Susanna Farrow's disappearance, leaving June to be raised by her grandmother and haunted by rumors. It's been a year since June started seeing and hearing things that weren't there. Faint wind chimes, a voice calling her name, and a mysterious door appearing out of nowhere, the signs of what June always knew was coming. But June is determined to end the curse once and for all, even if she must sacrifice finding love and having a family of her own. After her grandmother's death, June discovers a series of cryptic clues regarding her mother's decades-old disappearance, except they only lead to more questions. But could the door she once assumed was a hallucination be the answer she's been searching for? The next time it appears, June realizes she can touch it and walk past the threshold. And when she does, she embarks on a journey that will not only change both the past and the future, but also uncover the lingering mysteries of her small town and entangle her heart in an epic star-crossed love. So yeah, like, I wasn't sure. This sounded a little too witchy for my liking, but it's really not. It's a time travel thing. There's a love story. There's like a family line of time travelers. I mean, it's not as good as Gabrielle Meyer. There's no like exciting historical fiction here. I consider this more of a family story than a romance. Although it does talk about a love story, which I guess it can be, kind of. But I don't think that's the point of this book, personally. I think it's more of a family story. So, yeah. And then we have another time travel. I read this one during Amish in April. That Lizzie Faye Loves Books and The Bookish Knitter. Or, I think she changed her name on YouTube now. She's Sarah something or other? I can't remember. Anyway. So it's called Until Then by Cindy Woodsmall. Until then, may I use my time as you desire. In 1985, older Amish couple Celeste and Vin Lance have been married for 6 years. Vin is a carpenter by trade, but an artist in his heart. He is especially captivated by drawing portraits, which the Amish consider idolatry. Knowing they could be shunned, Celeste is shocked to discover that Vin has secretly been sketching her and their sons. When she confronts Vin, they argue, and Vin storms off and seems to disappear, leaving Celeste to wonder if he chose his art over family. When he leaves the house that night, Vin seeks peace on his favorite mountain overlook, but he takes a fall and awakes to find himself injured and lost. Vin soon realizes just how far he has traveled, not only in distance, but back in time to 1822 Ohio, a place that provides the freedom he craved, but where he is separated from his beloved wife and children. Vin is saved by the kindness of strangers and gradually learns to survive and even to use his skills to help his new friends in this unfamiliar time and place. But all the while, he prays desperately for God to return him to his family, before Celeste makes a new life without him. I mean, this book was really good. It had, like, really good historical fiction aspects in it, too. I mean, he goes to slavery times. It reminded me a little bit of Kindred, just, yeah, because of the time period, except, well, Amish. So, yeah, it was a great read. And I loved it. Number 2, best sequel you've read so far. Honestly, this is one of the ones I could not answer. I literally looked through my whole Goodreads, but no sequel stood out, and I didn't read that many sequels anyway. So, yeah. Nothing so far. Number 3, new release you still want to read. I would have to say from the ones that I have left, because I've read a lot of my new releases, honestly. I only have a few left for June because they were all so good from Chloe's list. Chloe from Always Booked. She had like a whole epically long video of new releases for June. So, yeah. But none of the other ones from other months stood out. Anyway, the one I picked was It Had to Be You by Beth Moran. Growing up, sisters Livy and Nikki never knew who they'd find at breakfast. Their parents fostered children of all ages, and although the girls loved playing their part and providing a safe haven, it meant that life was rarely peaceful. Now, as a single mother of 2, Libby's life is still anything but peaceful. In her work as an antenatal coach, as well as for the charity she and Nikki run for teenage mothers, Libby uses all the skills she learned growing up surrounded by children. Her days are full, caring for her family, the mothers-to-be, and the latest strays she has welcomed into her home. But in the dark of the lonely nights, Libby worries she's falling apart at the seams. One troubled boy and a reckless decision she made 13 years ago still haunts her. 2 hearts that were broken, still not mended. The time has come for Libby to look out for herself. As her family, friends, and her community have known forever, Libby is one of a kind, and if she can just learn to love herself, she may be able to welcome back the love she let slip through her fingers. So this sounds like a romance combined with a lot of foster care aspects and maybe teenage mothers, or yeah, sounds interesting to me. This reminds me of another book I've read with a sort of a foster parent love story, but I can't remember what it's called. But I remember wanting it, like, and I finally read it, and now I can't remember the title. It's by Page 2, and I remember that. That's so bad. But yeah, I like stories about foster care and adoption, and this one sounds like it could be complicated. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, that's the only one that I could think of that I was like dying to read immediately. Here it is. Someone I Used to Know is the other one I was thinking of. It's about a girl whose family does foster care, and she falls in love with one of the guys in her foster home. So I'm assuming this book is something like that. So, yeah. Okay. Number 4. Most anticipated book for the second half of the year. I have a couple. First, I have When We Flew Away, a novel of Anne Frank before the Diary by Alice Hoffman. This one comes out in September. This other one also comes out in September. The Book Lover's Library by Madeline Martin. heartwarming story about a mother and daughter in wartime England and the power of the books that bring them together. In Nottingham, England, widow Emma Taylor finds herself in desperate need of a job to provide for herself and her beloved daughter, Olivia. But with the legal restrictions prohibiting widows with children from most employment opportunities, she's left with only one option: persuading the manageress at Boots Booklovers Library to take a chance on her. When the threat of war becomes a reality, Olivia must evacuate to the countryside. In her daughter's absence, Emma seeks solace in the unlikely friendships she forms with her neighbors and co-workers, as well as the recommendations she provides to the library's quirky regulars. But the job doesn't come without its difficulties. Books are mysteriously shelved and disappearing, and her work forces her to confront the memories of her late father and the bookstore they once owned together before a terrible accident. As the blitz intensifies in Nottingham and Emma fights to reunite with her daughter, she must learn to depend on her community and the power of literature more than ever to find hope in the darkest of times. So yeah, war and books. What a better combination can there be? Number 5, biggest surprise. So I didn't really know how to answer this question. Are we talking a bad surprise? Are we talking a good surprise? I went with kind of in the middle. So I have 2. His Secret Daughter by Melissa Wisner. I found this one on Audible. And this one was a surprise because I thought it was one thing, and it turns out to be way more complicated than it looks. So basically, this couple is on the verge of divorce. They're separated. They have a daughter, a teenage daughter. And then the wife gets a call that her husband's severely injured in a hospital. And the woman and child with him is fine, apparently. So he had a toddler and a woman in the car with him. So what conclusion do you come up with? Obviously an affair. I won't say any more, but yeah. I'll let you go on the roller coaster. And then the other 2 I found surprising because I am not a funny reader. Like, I don't go out of my way to read really funny books that make me laugh. I like compelling stories with ethical dilemmas, as you can probably tell, and just sad historical fiction and, I like some sappy stuff. But do I go out of my way to read deliberately funny things? Not really. So these 2 are hilarious books. We have The Expectant Detectives by Kat Iles? I don't know how to say this last name. But yes, this one is about a bunch of pregnant women who are like taking a birthing class, and then somebody dies there. And, they're all kind of suspects in this thing. So they all kind of have to team up to figure out who killed this guy. And, I mean, the pregnancy jokes are hilarious. And just, it's so snarky and funny. And, I mean, it's one of those, I consider it kind of a cozy mystery because you don't even care that much about the murder. Like, it's that kind of book. It's kind of, sort of like the Amish Candy Shop, just not Amish. It's just really funny. And then another one is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I was not expecting this to be as funny as it was. I liked it, but I was reading it for the ethical dilemmas of, is she going to tell the father? Because this is about a woman who has a one-night stand and is suddenly pregnant. And so I got it for complicated families, not for a bunch of laughs, but boy, did I get a bunch of laughs. So, yeah. I know Courtney from Ravenclaw reads, and apparently Chloe also read this. I forgot she read it, but this is hilarious. And I love the guy, which is a rarity for me in romance. And the guy that she's interested in is not the father, by the way. Number 6, new favorite author. I have multiple authors. I have Alison Ragsdale, thanks to Chloe. I've read like 2 books by her. She only talked about her newest release, but I've read 2 of her books, and, well, they are twisty family stories that make you cry a lot. I have 2 more to read, and I can't wait. She's a Scottish author. I'm going to talk about one of her books in one of the future questions, but yeah. Then we also have Christina Suzanne Nelson. I read all of the books that I owned by her, or all the ones that are available on audio. I love them all. I think my favorite was her newest one. What was it called? I forgot to write it down. I wrote down... Anyway. But yeah, I loved her. Her books, they're like contemporary family stories. And they have some romance, but not much. Like hints of it in a couple. Yeah, I think I like her newest one best. What Happens Next by Christina Suzanne Nelson. This one was solving a cold case. And I also loved The Way It Should Be. This one was one where it's about 2 sisters, and what's it called? One of them has to go into rehab, and then the other sister finds out that she has a niece and nephew, and is she going to take them in? And it's, yeah, that kind of story. Complicated family. And then Melissa Wisner. I read 2 of her books, but I think she's going to be an auto-buy. I already talked about Secret Daughter, so yeah. So those are my new authors that I'm into. Number 7, new fictional crush. I don't have time for a real crush, let alone a fictional one. So, yeah. I pass. Number 8, book that made you cry. Ooh, I have a couple. The Child Between Us by Alison Ragsdale. Woof. This book was wild. Ah! My cursor is moving. But yes, it was about twin sisters, and one of them dies, and the other one has to take care of her daughter, which is, her niece. So she didn't even know she had a niece because the sister disappeared a long time ago. She only found out that she died. And honestly, she didn't even know that she had a niece when she found out she died. The lawyer didn't tell her. She just was told, oh, you need to go and settle your sister's affairs, So she goes to where her sister was living, and she finds out she has a niece. And, well, those are the affairs she has to settle, among other things. But, yeah, like, everybody loved the sister in the town that she was living in. It was like a seaside town in Scotland. And nobody could believe that she didn't tell her family she had a daughter. Like, it was pretty wild. And then, just, like, it's one of those books where everything bad that happens to this poor woman, first her sister disappears, then her sister dies, and she gets custody of her niece, and then she gets cancer. Like, and she has to reach out to someone. I won't say who, because that's a whole twist. That's why it's called A Child Between Us. Like, she's sick, and she has to reach out to someone she doesn't want to reach out to. But that's a twist you'll have to read for yourself. But, woof. That book made me bawl my eyes out. And then the other one is called The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. She wrote other fantasy series. It's called Fourth Wing, but I'm not even slightly interested in Fourth Wing. But The Last Letter is about... It's kind of a romance, but... So... It's about a woman. Her brother asks her to be a pen pal with this, like, soldier. And they're pen pals until her brother dies and he kind of disappears because he was her brother's best friend. So he stops writing to her, because he's, like, grieving the loss of this combined person they both love. And he only comes back into her life because he finds a letter from her brother telling him to take care of her and her twins. Her fatherless twins, because the father sucks. And there's a reason why he needs his best friend to take care of these kids, which I won't spoil. But this guy agrees to do his best friend's wishes and goes to her, but she doesn't know that he is the pen pal that she's been writing to because he never actually gave her his name. So he knows that if he tells her, she'll tell him to go take a hike because he pretty much ghosted her. So it's basically a whole deception. And at the time, I wasn't sure if I would like it. I heard about it from Lindsay, but Lindsay said that it's a really good book. And so I read it and I cried a million times. The ending is sad. I won't say why, but that book destroyed me. So yeah, there's that. Number 9, worst book you've ever read. This was another one I had a difficult time with because the books that I've read that I rated low weren't necessarily because they were the worst thing I ever read. They were just meh. Like, no reaction whatsoever, really. But the one I'm going to talk about is one that I rated 4 stars because I was into it, but at the same time, I felt a lot of, like, bookish rage. You know me and my bookish rage, right? So, the book is A Million Little Choices by Tamara Alexander. I heard about this one from Lou from Christian Faith and Fiction. She talked about it in her new releases video. And then Anne from In Search of Wonder read it, and Miriam Elizabeth Reeds. So I was like, okay, I have to get a hold of this book. I'm going to read the description, and then we'll just talk about it. Sometimes secrets just won't stay hidden. Okay. Claire Powell's life is turned upside down when her beloved husband admits to a quote-unquote near affair. But when Stephen accepts a partnership with an Atlanta office firm without consulting her and buys a historic southern home sight unseen, it pushes their already fragmented marriage to the breaking point. Claire's world spirals, and she soon finds herself in a marriage she no longer wants and a house she never asked for. In 1863, Charlotte Thursman, pregnant and trapped in a marriage to an abusive husband, struggles to protect her unborn child and the enslaved members of her household. Desperate, she's determined to right the evils her husband and others like him commit. But how can one woman put an end to such injustice, especially if her husband makes good on his threat to kill her? Both Claire and Charlotte discover truths about themselves they never realized, along with secrets long hidden that hold the power to bring God's restoration, if only they choose to let it. So, I think I went into this thinking this was something different. I thought that this was going to be her reading about this this woman with a terrible husband and kind of having the courage to ditch her husband. But it ended up being kind of different. Like, she knew about this quote-unquote near affair from the beginning, and she was trying to, like, do what she thought was biblically correct and stay with him, and, like, everybody wanted her to stay with him. And he just kept doing things to make me madder and madder. And I wanted her to leave him, and, like, even her daughter was making me mad. She's like, can you just forgive Dad? And it was so annoying. Like, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with people going back to, like, it's your choice if you want to, like, forgive a guy for cheating. That's, whatever. It's on you. If they want to, like, work on it. But he just kept doing things to make me madder and madder, like buying this property, and he pretty much tricked her into, he took her to Atlanta, or wherever this house was. I already forgot where this house was. But he took her there and to look at different houses, and, like, left, it's Atlanta. He took her to Atlanta, and he took her to look at all these different houses. Like, he actually got the realtor to get him to show them a bunch of different houses. And he saved the quote-unquote best one for last, even though he already bought it. Basically hoping that she'll just go, "Ooh, this is the best place ever!" And he can say, "I bought it, babe!" And that wasn't what happened. And I was, like, just enraged. I just don't like manipulation. And he was just enraging to me. Like, I don't think I've disliked a man in a romance that much since the Nicole Dees book I ranted about last year. I don't know. Like, he just made me so mad. And yet I gave this book 4 stars because I think it's kind of a compliment to the author that he made me so mad. Like, it's good writing that you made me feel that much for this guy. And also still want to keep reading because I wanted to see how the 1800 storyline came out. Like, in the end, I couldn't give it a lower rating because it was still a good read. Like, I wanted to know how everything else turned out. And even how what she decided, because, like, I almost gave it 5 stars because toward the end, he was starting to redeem himself for me. And then the way he gets her back, everybody's going to think it's like the most romantic thing. And I was this close to doing a repeat of what I did with The Dream Daughter by Diane Chamberlain and throw my phone across the room. I was so annoyed. So, yeah. That has to be the book I pick for worst book I've read. Even though it wasn't exactly the worst book I've read. It was just like the worst, the strongest negative reaction I've had to a book. Even though it was still a good book, if that makes any sense. Wow. I'm still mad about it. Number 10. Most beautiful book you've acquired. I don't have any books. They're all digital. So I don't have any beautiful or ugly books. Number 11. The rest of the books you have on your TBR. I did not create a TBR for the year. I just don't stick to TBRs. So I guess it's just the rest of the books I have on Goodreads. And I'm not going to go over every single book on my Goodreads because there's 460 something. I tell you what I add to Goodreads every month. But maybe I'll do a video where I talk about the other books that I added to Goodreads without reading the descriptions. Like basically the ones I added to Goodreads before I started my channel. Just kind of read the titles and the authors without doing a description. I don't know if you actually like that idea. But anyway, yeah, that is the mid-year book freakout tag. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.
Stop recording.